It's been a while.
Wow.
How do I use the buttons?
Yeah, same thing. I was like, "Where's the cord?" It's that big red that says cord.
That big red button.
What's fixing out the red button? And I just can't figure it out all the same.
Oh my God. Well, guys, we took off a little bit of time. We had there were a couple of health issues going on with Jessica and a little bit with me too, and a lot of stuff's been going on. But we are back, and we are so excited to be with everybody today. And I am in a brand new surrounding.
I got snow coming.
Oh, I can see it. Oh, I can see the snow coming down.
Yeah, we're supposed to 5 to 7 inches today. Nothing big.
Yeah, what the heck? If I had my windows open, you could see the palm trees. You would be able to see the canal and the water in the pool. So, it's like in the very nice 78 degrees here and sunshine. And I actually have light in this studio and in my office now. Before I was like in a cluster. It's like, let me out. I can't see you. I was in the dungeon. Like, let down my hair, Rapunzel. I don't know. Was she in a dungeon? No, she was in a tower. Who was in the dungeon? Who was in the dungeon? Somebody was in the dungeon.
I don't know.
One of those princesses were in the dungeon. Like, I felt in the dungeon, but I'm not in a dungeon anymore. I'm in the light. Woo! Like there's angels surrounding me, like the glowworm. Yeah. So we have some stuff to talk about today. We're going to focus on this microchip thing that just came out. And Jess, let's talk about the Save This Life, guys. You want to hear this.
Yeah, I was going to say, we probably should explain it because there's people that are out there still that don't know what we're talking about. Because I was talking to somebody I'm not even going to call her out just because I'm not going to make her feel bad. But I was talking to somebody this morning and she was like, "What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? Because it was brought to me with a fellow friend of mine that's in the industry. And she's like, "Hey, there's a post on Facebook. Have you heard this?" And I'm like, "Is it a scam?" And I called you right afterwards. I'm like, "Hey, here's the post. Is this a scam?" And you're like, "I thought I heard about this while I was at VMX at a conference last week." And you're like, "I thought it was kind of a scammy too." And then you start calling around and it's true. So I'll let you explore now.
Yeah. So, there are, as many people know, microchips. Why do we have microchips? Microchips happen because so we don't lose our pets. Right. 1 in 3 pets will go missing in their lifetime, never to be returned. And when a dog or a cat or a ferret or whatever animal comes into a veterinary clinic or an animal shelter, the first thing that they do is they scan for a microchip to see if they've been microchipped and to make sure and ensure that they are protected.
Right.
And if they are not microchipped, then that veterinary clinic or that shelter or rescue will implant that microchip. So microchip, guys, and I'm just going to dummy it down for you. It's about the size of a grain of rice, and it's implanted sub-Q, but between the shoulder blades, and it should be. It should be. It's not painful at all. There are, first of all, microchips got started. I'm going to take you way back in time. They first started with a company called Avid, and I was actually working with them with the Chicago Veterinary Medical Association, and Mayor Richard Daley in 1993 proclaimed National Chip Day with the Chicago Veterinary Medical Association and Abbott. And so microchips have been around for a long, long time, 30 years. And 30 years? 30 years.
I can't believe Daley is the one that created that. I'm impressed.
Well, he did. National, he created
the junior or the senior Daley?
Junior. It was 1993, and Dr. Ray Worley and I believe Hannah Stoddard from Avid Microchips, long time ago, because they realized the need for microchips, and Avid has been around for a long time. And so at that time, it was kind of people were talking about microchips. The issue is many pets are still not microchipped. And if they are microchipped, they're not registered. So meaning that when you get a pet and you get that pet and the pet is microchipped and you go home from the shelter or your veterinary clinic, you're doing other things and you forget to really transfer the ownership of the pet to your home address or your phone number. And say Frank, you can see him over there, he's laying in the sunshine, gets out, then they're going to scan him if he's picked up by animal control or someone else, and they'll look at that and they will contact the organization or whoever the chip is registered to, right? And then they will contact the person or the organization and say, your dog is here, you need to come pick him up. There are several, not several, there are, I want to say probably 20 microchip companies out there. And there's,
that many?
Yeah. There's a different
Really?
registration
I mean,
date.
I
Yeah,
just
there's,
said that. Really?
yeah.
I
There's
did not know that
about
myself.
20, it's about 20 microchip companies out there. Because
Okay.
it's a wide open market and it's a pretty big market if you can capitalize on it. But there's a registry, and so people charge for the registries. They may charge $24, they may charge $30, they may charge $9.99, and people are like, I don't need to do that. My pet's microchipped. He's got a collar on, and he's not going to get lost. So what happened was a company named Save This Life, and Jessica, I think you're going to put up the link there for Save This Life and for more information and some of the news articles, because this is really hitting hard, that they all of a sudden people started noticing, I believe it was the second week of January, started noticing that when they would scan the chip, the number would come up. But when they would try to call Save This Life for more information, nothing would happen. And the worst thing was, there is a free microchip registry through the American Animal Hospital Association, AAHA.org, and you can register your pets for free there. And what happens is many companies of these microchip companies will link their data to the free AAHA database. And so that way their information corresponds. Well, all of a sudden, AAHA, couldn't find their information.
Oh, that's
and they were linked to that. So this free microchip database, all of a sudden, they can't find their information there. They can't find their information within the Save This Life. Nobody's answering calls. No one's responding to emails. Nobody's picking up the phone. So the bottom line was there was a bit of a kind of a frenzy at VMX conference, which I attended about 2 weeks ago. There was kind of a buzz about it, but nothing really. People thought, well, it was through Covetrus. It was distributed by Covetrus.
Okay.
And Covetrus is one of the largest veterinary distributors in the U.S. And so people really didn't, they didn't follow up on it. Well, suddenly, I started following up on things, and the bottom line is, Covetrus actually sold that division. I think it was last year, and the company went out of business. They unlinked all their data from the system. And they just shuttered. They just shut their doors. And then they unlinked all of their data from the American Animal Hospital Association database.
Does that turn off the microchips for layman's terms? So this little tag that's in the, this little tracking device, does that just go, it's off?
No. So what will happen is it will pull up on a scanner. But all it does is pull up the number.
Okay, so it doesn't have, so it's kind of off, saying, I can't be tracked because I can be, here's my number, but there's no information on me. So it's basically like a dead key.
Dead key, correct. So it pulls up the number, but the problem is that number doesn't do anything because it's just like it's a 10, 12 digit number, whatever it is. and it's not connected to any information. So it's just like a number floating around there. So
It's
what
like
is,
finding a key on the side of a sidewalk and you're just looking at it going,
and it could be the keys.
whose house
It
is
could be the keys to the kingdom, like for $1 million, but you wouldn't know it because you don't know where that key goes.
Right.
Great analogy. I love that. So now there has been issues. So they are not, they're encouraging people now because all of a sudden news reports happened. I called Covetrus. I spoke to several people in the microchip industry, began exploring a little bit further on LinkedIn, and many of the people have kind of, gone a little bit dark there. And they are now encouraging pet owners to come in and, first of all, they're encouraging pet owners, if they happen to have, say their ID information, their number, if you remember where you put it.
Right. That's the big thing. Yeah, you and I
remember, because this company has been in business for 15 years. 15 years. Long ago. And so that's been 2012.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember what we had for breakfast yesterday, let alone what I did 14 years ago. Like, if you asked me where Teddy's information was, clueless. I mean, and I'm pretty good with that stuff, but still clueless. I can't remember where I got my birth certificate. I had to reorder one because I don't know where I went.
I forget my head if it wasn't attached. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will say this, that many people, especially if you're going back 13 years and say your dog's 7 years old now, are you going to remember where you put your microchip information? No. But what you can do is you can go to a veterinary clinic or an animal shelter near you. They will scan that pet and they will give you the number, and you can re-register that pet in the American Animal Hospital Association database. And it's really important that you do that, because if they get lost, you're kind of SOL. I will also say there's another company, and I don't want to bring this up, but there's another company. I believe they were shipped through Saving Animals in Need Together, Saint. I believe that was it, or Saving Life. Not Save This Life, but Saving Life. And they were selling microchips as well. And now that company, I think the registration was through American Association of Pet Parents. That database, that AAPP is gone. Their website is down. Their registry is down. And their microchips they sold, as well as information that are unscannable as well. So there's a lot of kind of kerfluffle or things going on in the industry related to microchips, and we need to talk about it because it's something that has to be addressed, because our pets are really your family, and you need to be able to find their way home.
Well, to that point, I want to make sure that I brought up, just because, like, so you're the expert on that side, but I'm going to go on the pet parent side too. You know what I mean? So make sure your vet actually has a wand, because some of the vets here around Chicago, not all of them have a wand. So
really,
yeah, not all of them do. But you also,
I find that interesting.
It is, I know. But the other thing too is you can call the police department. Not every police department has a wand either. I've learned that one. But you can run by the police department, because they usually have it at the station unless somebody's called in and they.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, so you can run by the police department and say, hey, can you wand my dog really quick?
What about the fire department? Could you go by there? Because firemen are hot. Firemen are hot. I gotta say that. I'd go by the fire department before I go by the police department.
I don't know. There's some.
I look kind of cute, and I take Mr. Frank in, and I'm like, hey.
I was gonna say, I think police department, fire department, they're all young. So,
And I'm not.
Well, you're 29 again. Sorry.
Oh, and by the way, hello, Pets or Family audience. Miss Jessica celebrated her birthday, and I think she turned 29 again. I don't know. She looks fabulous. So anyway, happy birthday belated to you, Jessica, from our Pets or Family audience.
Thank you. I turned 29 again for like the 30th time or something.
I think we were the Golden Girls. I mean, what happened? Well, I'm okay with the Golden Girls.
Time or something like that. That's not right, but you know what I mean? The Golden Girls. But yeah, you could do that. And I always tell people when I've been working with my pet parents, I always tell them every year at your annual exam to have it one more time, because you and I were talking the other night on the phone, and you're like, no. And I said, yeah, because Teddy's moved.
Yeah, he migrated.
So yeah, it moved in his body, and it
Mhm.
was like further down in his back. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
also the other thing too is I know that you said most of them get done between their shoulder blades, but I
Mhm.
have had some rescues do it further down, which is weird.
Really?
So
Okay.
you really need to know where your dog's or cat is put. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that the rescues don't put it exactly like where Tricia said they are.
Yeah.
You really need to know where it is, and you kind of need to indicate that, kind of like a medical alert bracelet. So on their tag and say, I am chipped, it's lower in my back or something like that. So you
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
where it
Mhm.
is. And you also
Yeah.
have to remember, everybody, that you might put a collar on your dog, and if your dog gets out, that collar might not stay on. I mean, think
Mhm.
about it. If you're running through something, your bracelets don't stay on, your necklaces get ripped off, things like that. You got to remember,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or the other thing too is if your dog's lost and he's got a collar on you, he's not the friendliest of persons and not going to let everybody near that little thing because he's like, I'm scared. I'm going to eat you before you get near my collar. You know what I mean?
Mr. Frank would roll over and lick them and go, "Hey, let me go with you. Let me go with you." Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's
Brutus
and
would claw his head off. If he doesn't know you, he's like, you are not coming near me unless you bring me food first, and then I'll come talk to you.
Yeah. So guys, Jessica and I actually we challenge each other sometimes and we get along so well. But Jessica's like, well, Teddy's migrate, moved. And I go, that's not possible. Because we say, I mean, in the microchip world, a lot of people say, well, is it gonna travel? Is it gonna move down? I'm worried about it. What's it gonna do to my pet? When I get him, and I said, it can't, they don't migrate. So that is a unique situation. I
Yeah,
want to point that out that typically
it doesn't
microchips
in
do
different.
not migrate. They are implanted, and that way we know where they are when we scan, especially coming from, animal welfare world, the veterinary profession. But obviously it has happened before, and I want to acknowledge that. And that's
Just think it's smart
yeah,
when you do your annual exam. Just have them on it. Make sure
yeah.
it's still in the right place. It's still working. It's still tracking. You know what I mean? And I look at it this way. It's kind of like the alarms in your house. It's kind of like the filter. It's always
Hmm.
good to check on it. It's always good to make sure it's working. I want to say one of our dogs at that I had as a child. I want to say it was Misty. It was one of my English sheepdogs. For some reason, our one of our tractors wound up like stopped working, and it was just a fluke. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, with our batteries and, different things in our world. It's not stuff, not everything is meant to work forever. You know what I mean? And when her microchip stopped working, so we had to re-microchip her because it just,
Ooh,
no matter what we did, it just
you couldn't
never,
scan it.
it just couldn't
Wow.
spin it. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
things like this happen. And if you
Okay.
ever meet me really in real life, you'll know that if I didn't have bad luck, I would have no luck at all. So I am that girl, like,
The world according to Jessica.
yeah. So, like, I'm not one girl. It's like, oh, you want to find out if it doesn't work?
Oh my God.
Come meet me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But so
But
that's what I would say. At your annual exam, if your vet has it, just ask them to scan it so that way you have that peace of mind of knowing it works, and you just know that if Fluffy gets lost, Fluffy's coming home to you. And
right.
the other thing too is when you register Fluffy, you should have a trusted friend, a family member, somebody outside your house. I always believe it should be outside your house, but somebody that you love, know, and trust that would actually help you get Fluffy home. That is the secondary on your contact. So that way, if you don't answer your phone and Fluffy's lost, they will answer their phone,
Right.
and that they will take responsibility, like, and you got to be able to answer your phone because we're so in the habit now that we don't recognize the number, we're not answering the phones.
Yep.
But you're going to have to, if Fluffy's missing, you answer every phone call that comes in, and you need to tell whoever the secondary is. Like, so if I lose Teddy, wrong one, sorry. If I lose Brutus, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'm going to be calling Tricia saying, Brutus is missing. So you're the secondary. So answer any call that comes in you don't recognize, please.
Yeah.
Because if I miss it, they're calling you next. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And you
Yeah,
want somebody like that, not your
you
husband,
do.
not
You
your wife.
do. The only thing is that I know sometimes with microchip companies, they allow for one, or like the registries, they allow for one contact. And so I think check with that, but having that is so important.
Yeah.
I also say, I, on Saturday, so Saturday, I received a notice from my veterinary clinic, East West Veterinary Clinic here in Cape Coral, and it said urgent notice. Any pet that has been microchipped, this is urgent. You need to know this, and we're trying to contact everybody that has been microchipped, so they have all the information. on the microchip numbers associated with that veterinary clinic. I happened to stop by East West Veterinary Clinic just to talk to them and, get some more information from them. A lot of people are kind of like, not freaking out, but, really kind of beside themselves, which I guess is freaking out, because they're wanting to get their pets re-microchipped now. And they're encouraging them, listen, you don't need to do this. Let's just get your pet re-registered and get that information up to date. But you have to think about this, Jessica, from the standpoint, okay, this has been going on. Microchips have been implanted from this company, Save This Life, since 2010. 15 years, right? Think of the millions of pets that have been microchipped.
Millions.
Millions of pets that have been
Millions,
microchipped.
not just
All of these
100.
Oh no,
Millions.
it's not just 100. It's not thousands. It's millions of pets have been microchipped through this company, and now to suddenly not answer their phones, to suddenly have all information disconnected. That sucks. I mean, and that is a move that I don't think that I have a few choice words for that company. I understand when you're out of money and you have to make hard choices, but to not notify somebody, just to have like suddenly the whole site go dark, and you as an organization are responsible for the lives of millions. Shame on you. That's my swear word. Shame on you. But yeah, so I think just for the purposes of our listening audience and today, it does, if you can't remember who your microchip company is, go see your veterinarian, go see the shelter, go see the police department, go see the hot fireman. Just get the scan and get that re-registered, because again, you may have a totally different microchip, and that's okay. But register them in that free registry of that database from the American Animal Hospital Association and get that going, or another organization that works with. I know there are several organizations out there. I know that you and I work with a couple, and I want to make sure that, we just make sure that these pets get registered into the system and get lost pets home, because it's a huge issue. I mean, 1 in 3 pets go missing every year. I think next week we're going to address some newest technology in finding lost pets, and that's through drones. And we have a couple of people that have had personal experience with that. So the main takeaway from this, guys, is microchips save this life, and saving animals in need together, or saving life, whichever way they sold that under, or even American Association of Pet Parents. Make sure to check those microchips, because it is a concern, and we want to help you guys.
Right. You got to remember too, for those that have registered their microchips with a paid company and they did not renew it because you didn't want to pay for another year, go ahead and just go on to AHA and register it now for the free one. I like that name, AHA. You know what I mean? So that way you know that your animal will be found. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just think of it that way too.
And it costs nothing. It costs your time. Those things about time, treasure, talents. It costs your time, and I think any family member is worth that amount of time that you put into that pet.
Right.
So Jessica, it is so good to be back with you. It's so good to see your smiling face, and you look beautiful. You look beautiful. So, we're going to be back next week talking about a little bit about some other fun stuff related to microchips and keeping your pets safe.
Finding your pets and how to find your pets. I think that's a great topic. I mean, just because not that we've lost one yet, but mm-hmm. Bin Laden's been trying to get out. He's been. And what's interesting is that we have to get him microchipped. He's my only animal in my house that's not microchipped.
Ooh, okay. You better get him microchipped.
Yep. And it was because I didn't want to. I couldn't microchip him. I microchipped everybody in my house except for him.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right, everybody.
Okay.
Continue for those that those we'll see you guys next week, and we're so glad to be back, and we'll talk to you soon. So
bye.
Bye.